Acha ni restart kiasi tu.
Yaani maiki session ya maiki mwezi katatu kupata hizi mablanda kukikiwa mara kidogo nipige justice jiu. Asikizo nasafisha jana nilikuwa game. Leo nasikia niko hata kuingia. Mara umeriost kijana nianze kurekodi nilikuwa ni ashughulikie hii gari. LBC. Ndio hii.
It's a reasonable expectation that people should be able to to feed their families, to be able to provide for essentials, but also to be able to have a modest degree of kind of, entertainment for their children. Because I think I don't think we would want to live in a society where we have children growing up whose lives are sort of grindier in the way that we would
in the same way that 60% of the median average is an arbitrary target. I think a modest degree of entertainment might also be pretty arbitrary. But we've got to leave it there, Professor. Thank you. Professor Ashwin Kumar is Director of Research and Policy at the IPPR think tank, former economic advisor to Gordon Brown. I'm late for the news headlines already, but I was just speaking to Aggie Chombre a little earlier about the difficult weekend that may well be ahead for the Labour Party, given some of the reaction to bits and bobs from the budget. And I'm here to tell you that there's been quite a significant U-turn. Aggie?
That's right, the government has U-turned on its manifesto commitment to offer all workers protection against unfair dismissal from their first day in the job. So there's been talks between the government, trade unions and business representatives, and they say they've come out with a workable package. So ministers are now going to introduce this right after 6 months, they say, from 24 months instead of after day one. Now, there had been talk for a while about this, the Employment Rights Bill being watered down. It's currently going through something called ping pong between the Lords and the Commons, and of course Angela Rayner, who is a massive proponent of the bill, and the minister in charge of the bill both left in the recent reshuffle. But they are basically saying in this statement that it can only reach royal assent and keep to the published delivery timeline if they do this, and they say this is a workable package.
We'll have more reactions to that. It's quite a big story, Aggie. Thank you. Aggie Chombre, LBC's political correspondent. Tom Swarbrick on LBC 518. Let's get the headlines. Tim Humphrey.
The Prime Minister says fairness was at the heart of the budget, and it's right we all make a contribution. President Putin says he's ready for talks over Ukraine, but hasn't seen a finalised peace deal. Net migration to the UK has fallen by nearly 70% to a 4-year low after tougher visa rules. LBC weather becoming clear in the south after midnight, but rain continuing in the north. An overnight low of 7 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight. On the anti-clockwise M25, one lane is still blocked on the exit slip at 23 for South Limbs as a car has broken down, so there are queues. It's also slow anti-clockwise to the Dartford Tunnel, to delays of 40 minutes being reported. There are queues on the westbound side of the North Circular heading towards Neasden. It's because of roadworks after the Staples Corner flyover blocking one lane, and Southampton Road in Holborn is still shut from High Holborn to Vernon Place after a fire yesterday. There's only one Woolwich ferry running this evening. That's due to maintenance works. On the tube, there's no Piccadilly line Rainers Lane to Uxbridge. Severe delays on the Jubilee line, and on the trains, southern services are suspended from Watford Junction to Shepherd's Bush.
LBC.
Mummy, please can you tell me a bedtime story?
Well, once upon a time there was a very tired mummy who'd been busy all day, and basically she was too knackered to cook, so she ordered herself a sweet and sour chicken, special fried rice and some prawn crackers on Uber Eats instead.
That's not a very good story, Mummy.
Great ending though.
When you've done enough, Uber Eats and get your favourite restaurants delivered. Check out the terms and restrictions.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
How's the business going? We're busier than ever, but struggling to get the staff we need. Recruiting can be such a distraction. We gave Job Centre Plus a try. They've really helped us out. Yeah, it was dead easy. We got our own employer advisor, Julie, who helped advertise our jobs, shortlisted candidates for us, and let us interview at the Job Centre. We've hired some great people, and Job Centre Plus really took the hassle out of it. And there was no fee. Brilliant. That's straight on my to-do list.
Find out more at business.gov.uk/recruits. Eligibility criteria apply.
For GCSE and A-level success, one name stands out. Justin Craig. Small, tailored group tuition that really works. Justin Craig courses consolidate knowledge, boost confidence and improve technique for mocks, assessments and exams. Available in classrooms and online. One-to-one also available. With over 40 years experience, Justin Craig has helped more than 100,000 students. For more details, visit justincraig.ac.uk. Justin Craig, tailored for you.
They did it again. Flour instead of flowers on my birthday. I'm 95 minutes late, but it's hard to leave when you've shared so much. Your postcode, your gluten intolerance. Then I saw it.
Customers restrictions apply. New customers only. Terms at ocado.com.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Listen on your smart speaker. Just say, play LBC.
5:31 the time. Tom Swarbrick here on LBC. The news just breaking a few moments ago is that the government has U-turned on a manifesto commitment to offer all workers protection against unfair dismissal from their first day in a job. Sick pay and paternity leave will still go ahead from day one, right? So you still get sick pay and paternity leave from day one, but all the benefits of being in full employment after a probation period will not be given to people, despite the government putting that in its manifesto. So, on the one hand, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves give to the left of their party some nice, sparkly baubles before Christmas, and then the next day rips some of them away. Is that how it's going to work from now on? The big thing that people in the left of the Labour Party wanted was the end of the two-child benefit cap, and on that they were given glad tidings by the Chancellor yesterday, who at a cost of £3 billion ditched it. I want to hear from you if that's you. If you are in the position of having 3+ children, you are in some form of work but you're already on universal credit, or you're not in work at all, I want to talk to you about the situation you are in and how this extra money is going to help you. 03456060973 is the number. Mark's the new caller in Evesham. Mark.
Hi there, Mark.
Your thoughts, sir?
First time caller, I'm extremely nervous. It was just, I just listened to LBC all day, every day, pretty much. I just wanted to sort of get a bit of a point across. This two-child cap lifting, although it kind of works for some, but as a divorced parent of three, my children live with me 40% of the time in poverty. I don't really have any rights regarding that. Whereas the ex-wife obviously gets all the maintenance, all of the benefits and everything. And to be honest, I'm just calling to moan a little bit.
Mark, don't you worry about it. It's partly the reason we exist. And it's nice to just get it off your chest sometimes. But would you... obviously the marriage not being in place anymore, would your children still be able to qualify for additional child benefit even if it was paid to your wife? Your ex-wife?
Not to me. I'm in a medium wage job. I work quite hard. Obviously, as a single man, provided for 3 children, paying maintenance, trying to get by myself. The money's gone. It's zapped. So 40% of the time the children are me. We make it work. We get by. I live in existence. And it's just not fair, I find.
Do you mind me asking roughly how much you earn?
I'm around the 40k mark.
So there's... that is above the median average. Mm-hmm. And I totally realise that having 3 children and paying maintenance and stuff is going to make things tight, but the marriage collapsed, unfortunately.
Yeah, at what point did I lose all my rights?
Yeah.
Well, who's regarding the I'm not going to go into the circumstance of the collapse.
No, sure.
But why did from the second that marriage collapsed, I have no rights? My ex-wife had all the rights.
Yeah. To access to funds.
To access the funds, yes.
I don't think, Mark. I think there are a lot of dads who are divorcing who would say not a dissimilar thing, actually, that they are treated rather differently, despite being half of the parenting. Mark, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. No need to be nervous. You were excellent. Good to have got it off your chest. Thank you. Annabelle's in Richmond. Hi, Annabelle.
Hi there. It doesn't really affect me directly, but I was just calling to say that my neighbours have 7 children, and I don't think any of them are working, and they smoke weed all day, every day.
The children or the parents?
Both.
So
definitely the parents, but some of the kids as well. The smell is just constant, and it just feels a bit like maybe they could cap 4 children. And again, it's the sort of mid-range 40, 50 grand earners that are going out to work who just get penalised once again and then back to corporations.
Although it is much, much better a financial position to be in to be earning £40,000, £50,000 a year rather than not working.
Sitting at home, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, but I just think if you can get £2,000 or over £2,000 a month from not working,
Yeah.
why would you?
I think, Annabelle, the circumstances are would have to be pretty unique, but the possibility exists that a single mum with 3 kids could earn more through the removal of the 2-child benefit cap and other benefits, could earn more than a person starting out on the minimum wage.
True, yeah.
Now, some people would argue that that is a position that no one should be in. There is no world in which any work, full-time work, should pay less than being on benefits and not working.
Yeah. I just hope they give the money to their children and spend it on food rather than what they could be spending it on the bed, right?
Well, this is the difficulty, and this goes back to the argument I was having with the professor, at least the debate with the professor, which is, do you give vouchers for the stuff that the state thinks that the children in poverty need, or do you give money over and hope that they spend it on the right things for their kids who are in poverty?
And that's the question. But I guess it would be, giving vouchers might be very complicated.
Indeed. Annabelle, I appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. 03456060973. I'll put out the punt again. When I put out the punt an hour ago for Robbins to ring in, I couldn't move for calls. If you are a winner in the sense that this 2-child benefit cap is now going to be lifted, and you are just so absolutely beyond thrilled because you have been struggling every damn day, I mean, forget every day, every hour, to try and make things meet, to give your children a possibility of eating 3 meals a day or getting the bus to get to school, whatever it might be. And now there is hope on the horizon because they are lifting that cap. You are able to get that extra money, whether it's 70 quid a child a week. That is going to help you. I really want to speak to you this hour. I want to know how this is going to help you, because this is the thing that Keir Starmer is, I think, going to be remembered for. So how is it going down in your house where you need it most? 03456060973, the number. 5:28 the time. Chris Justin is here from 7 Investment Management for a business update, and it is to a repeat offender in that sense that we return to, Chris, because the cyber attack on Asahi, one of our favourite premium beer brands, saw production halted, but now there could be a big leak too.
That's right. So if it wasn't bad enough for Asahi, and by the way, it's not just Asahi, which is an excellent beer, but Peroni too that they own within their stable.
Which is, yeah, it's all right, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, each their own, Tom. That's one for another day. But there were clearly drink shortages across all of Japan when they had to pretty much grind production to a halt in factories and breweries when they had that cyber attack. It accounts for 40% of beer sales in Japan. It is a big player in that space. And you even had employees having to take down orders for big sort of factory deliveries on pen and paper in order to get it done. I'm laughing because obviously, yes, that's logical, but it's not particularly effective when you're running an operation of that size. But as you said, now it's disclosed, actually the personal information about 1.5 to 2 million people that possibly have been leaked to. And I say possibly because they think they've had access to it. They've not seen it show up anywhere as of yet. So this is names, addresses, contact information, no credit card details apparently, which is obviously quite important. But it is limited, I've got to say for listeners, to systems managed in Japan. So this is isolated. But it really underlines again how just one infiltration like this can have an enormous impact on a business. They actually said today as well that they're going to have to delay their financial reporting for the year by 50 days. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but when you're a public limited company that relies on people investing in your business for confidence, that is not a good look at all. But they simply have to do it because of the impacts of not having all of their systems back up and running and not allowing the auditors to come in, Tom.
But the beer is still being produced now.
Crucially, yes, they're not up to 100%. I think that I was reading they're up to somewhere between 70 and 90% of production levels. So they're nearly there. The thirsty people in Japan can sort of rest easy from that perspective. But when you look at it as a PLC, as I mentioned, one that is looking to continue to grow and it is a substantial presence there, you know, that is something painful they're not going to want to repeat. And actually, as we know, for the likes of Jaguar Land Rover, unfortunately, I think this is going to become more and more prevalent in the years to come because we're all vulnerable.
Chris and his thirsty people in Japan. Thank you very much indeed. Chris Justin from 7 Investment Management. The guys will be here, Chris and Ben, tomorrow at 6 p.m. for an investment session. It is the only place on British radio designed specifically to make you richer, and after the budget, my God, you're going to need it. The investment session here from 6 o'clock tomorrow. Coming up,
you do sit there and go, well, I'm paying all this tax. Is it really going towards the things that are actually benefiting the people that live here?
The overall net migration number has plummeted to just over 200,000 in the last 12 months, a drop of 69%. And yet, behind that headline, nearly 1 million people came into the UK. The reason for the fall, ladies and gentlemen, is because of the Great British Brain Drain. We'll bring you the details after the 5:31 news headlines. Tim Humphrey.
The government has reversed its promise to introduce protection for workers from unfair dismissal from their first day in a job. Ministers now plan to introduce the right after 6 months, following concerns from business groups. The business secretary has told LBC both the letter and the spirit of the government's pre-election promises on tax have been kept. The rate of income tax didn't rise in yesterday's budget, but thresholds have been frozen until 2031, meaning people could find themselves in a higher bracket. A 7th Metropolitan Police officer working at Charing Cross Police Station has been dismissed for gross misconduct. Last month, the TV documentary detailed racist and misogynistic behaviour by staff there, which started an investigation. LBC weather becoming clear in the south after midnight, but rain will continue in the north. An overnight low of 7 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
Let's turn to the person, of course, who's at the heart of all the news and the headlines this morning, Chancellor Rachel Reeves, who joins me now. Having said before that it was all fully costed, last year you fixed the foundations. Can you assure my listeners now, read my lips, no more tax increases as and when you present next year's budget?
No chancellor can predict the future or write next year's budget, but I made my choices yesterday to get NHS waiting list down, cut the cost of living and reduce the debt. But look, I've doubled the size of that headroom against our fiscal rules yesterday so that we can withstand the shocks, which I'm sure will continue to come our way.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Back tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on our free Global Player app or the new LBC app.
How's the business going? We're busier than ever, but struggling to get the staff we need. Recruiting can be such a distraction. We gave Job Centre Plus a try, and they've really helped us out. Really? Yeah, it was dead easy. We got our own employer advisor, Julie, who helped advertise our jobs, shortlisted candidates for us, and let us interview at the Job Centre. We've hired some great people, and Job Centre Plus really took the hassle out of it, and there was no fee. Brilliant. That's straight on my to-do list.
Find out more at business.gov.uk/recruit. Eligibility criteria apply.
Gift more for less when you shop at the O2 this Christmas. Save up to 70% off RRP on over 60 of their favourite designer brands, including Nike, Tommy Hilfiger, Le Creuset, the cosmetics company store, and Lindt. Ticked everyone off your list? Start the festivities at one of our 30 bars and restaurants. Enjoy a movie or get competitive with bowling, climbing, interactive football, indoor skydiving, and more. Find us at North Greenwich, just 15 minutes from central London. Search Outlet Shopping at the O2 to start planning your visit.
Hello, I'm a National Lottery scratch card. You normally see me in the shops, but you know where I'd really like to be? Round yours at Christmas. I'm a great Christmas guest. You can use me as a festive place setting for a bit of fun, and you might even win a few quid. At the very least, I'll distract Uncle Dave from saying something inappropriate.
Buy a National Lottery scratch card and add some play to Christmas. Gift responsibly. Rules and procedures apply. Players and gifters must be 18 or over.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
5:35 the time. Adam, I'll come to your call in just a few moments. First,
my daughter and her husband, they're 30 years old and they can't afford to buy a home, and they've just decided, for the children's sake, that they're going to emigrate.
The headline is this: a 69% fall in net migration in the year to June, the lowest level in 4 years. 204,000 is a massive drop. Does that mean many fewer people are coming to the UK? Well, the figures also show that nearly 900,000 people, in fact just over 900,000 people, came into the UK in that period, down from all-time highs, but still enormous. The real story is that an astonishing 693,000 people emigrated from the UK, and they were mainly all young. Around 53% of the net outflow is aged 16 to 24, and 46% aged 25 to 34. So we keep very high numbers of people coming in, while waving goodbye to the country's next generation of taxpayers. Dr. Mina Kuipers is a researcher at the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Talk us
Now that is a massive drop compared to last year, but especially compared to that more than 900,000 peak that we saw back in 2023. We're about somewhere about 80% down. Now this is as a combination, as you were hinting at, as a combination of two factors. So it's true that fewer people are coming in, particularly on work and study visas, but it's also true that the number of people leaving the UK, so the emigration from the UK, that's also increased quite substantially, and that's how we got to this substantial drop on the whole.
Do we know who makes up some of the 693,000 people who left? We know about ages and age ranges, and it is particularly the young who are leaving, but do we know what type of young people?
So we know their age, but we also know their nationality, so that's an important distinction. So out of that roughly 700,000 people, about 300,000 were non-EU migrants, most likely some of the recent arrivals that we've seen in a number of years, but we've also seen substantial immigration of two other groups. One is EU nationals, so we're seeing how substantial numbers of people from countries like Poland and Romania came to the UK, be it for Brexit, under free movement. Some of those people are now heading back to their countries of origin. But we're also seeing that somewhere around 250,000 British nationals, a very large numbers, have also left the UK in those 12 months to the end of June.
And you say a very large number, so numbers are really no good without any context. So put that 250,000 Brits leaving in some context for us, that's outsized, is it?
So it's not compared to the last 2 years. So what happened with British immigration is we saw a big increase somewhere around 2022 and 2023. We don't fully understand why that's happened, and now we're seeing those numbers being roughly flat over the last few years. So number of people leaving has stayed relatively constant, but it's much higher than what we saw before the pandemic, essentially.
Very interesting. What do you think might be driving that?
It's very hard to predict based on the data that we do have. One phenomenon that's likely to be at play is related to EU immigration as well, because there will be a number of people who've come to the UK, spent a period of time here and acquired citizenship, and now maybe moving back to their countries of origin, perhaps along with some of their British-born, British national children. So that's likely to be a big factor, but we're also seeing continuing levels of immigration from British-born, other kinds of British-born nationals as well, and that's going to be to traditional destinations such as Australia and Canada.
And is that broadly flat from the end of the pandemic numbers, or, I mean, outside of those pandemic numbers, in the last 10 years, 250,000 British nationals leaving in a single year presumably must be quite high?
I don't have the numbers of hand, but it is substantially higher than what we were seeing before Brexit. It was roughly somewhere closer to 150 to 200,000, but we're seeing these fluctuations happen, and numbers going up and down over the last 2 decades, and it's very hard to pinpoint why exactly this is happening.
Mina Koipos, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Researcher at the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford. So, I mean, the headline figure is what people want, isn't it? The net migration figure comes down. That's what people have been calling for. 204,000, huge drop. Except that 900,000 people coming in that year is a lot of people. It's not anywhere near as high as the highs of 2021 and 2022, but it's a lot of people. And the net migration rate number is only really that low because so many people left. And I've said it to you because it's anecdotally been the case to me, but I suspect it's a real lived thing in your family. Your sons and daughters are leaving. I mean, the 23-year-old takes one look around them, having come out of university with a mountain of debt, not a particularly good jobs market, and says what? Well, the digital first job I would otherwise be doing for £26,000 and massive amounts of tax, increasing amounts of tax in the UK, actually might pay better with less tax somewhere else, and I can move it there, so I'm off. Isn't that what's happening? 03456060973. Let's come back to the two-chart benefit cap now lifted. Adam's in Liverpool. Adam.
Yeah, I just want to make my point. I feel like the government have penalised hard-working families again. Now, I've got 2 children and we send them to a private school. And we pay the fees, obviously the VAT was increased on there in order to get more
subsidise them as well. I think the system's really unfair.
Well, the thing is, you can't. I'm going to put this gently. You cannot remove the child that's just been born even into a family of feckless parents. You know, it's no use. I don't think there's much use in saying you shouldn't have you can't afford to have 5 kids because they're born now. So what do you do? No, either you say, because you were an idiot, you are going to have those children grow up in poverty, or you do something about the poverty.
But how are the Labour government going to measure if that money is being used effectively? Why did not use a blanket measure and say we're going to introduce free school meals across the whole board for everyone in secondary or primary schools?
Well, what I was surprised by, Adam, was from our professor earlier at the IPPR who studies these things for a living. The measure of poverty is very, very complicated, incredibly difficult, and to use his word, arbitrary. And then the suggestion that, of course, as part of the benefits payments, children should have, a nice time of some form of entertainment. Well, that's great, but how do you measure that? How do you make sure that happens? And is it right that other taxpayers are paying for it?
Why would they not introduce a measure where everyone in the primary school or secondary school gets a free lunch every day or a breakfast in the morning?
They do. They have.
Sure
They've got that.
Not across all schools.
Not across all schools, but breakfast clubs are definitely starting up in primary schools.
Yes, but they've got to pay for them in our local school.
True. I guess it depends on the makeup of the school.
Where they've said, obviously, in every school across the north, every school across the UK, they get a free breakfast in the morning, they get a free lunch. At least we know that the children are being fed and the money is being used effectively.
All right. Adam, I appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. I'm still... Look, I put the call out again. This is going to lift however many hundreds of thousands, 400-something thousand families out of poverty. If you are in receipt, or you would be in receipt of the 2-child benefit, and now the 3-child benefit, and the 4-child benefit, the 7-child benefit, 03456060973. Alex is in Lewisham. You want to talk migration, Alex? Hi.
Hi, Tom. Yeah, I just want to call up and say that I've heard, for many, many months now, I've heard people calling up saying they're going to Dubai because the country's... You can't run a business here and all this sort of stuff. Well, I'm thinking of leaving because I'm worried about the future of the UK for all those reasons as well, financially, but also if Reform UK get into power. I feel like if they're going to try and model themselves on what Donald Trump's doing in the USA, they're going to do things that benefit the wealthiest, and I think that the country is pretty much going down the pan, and it'll be worse with them in power. I absolutely feel that. So for someone like me, it's not for the same reasons as everybody else in terms of, you can't run a business here or anything like that. It's because I'm worried about I'm a black person, so for me, I'm really concerned about the future of people like me in this country.
Because you think that if Reform were to win, the racism would tick up?
I think so, yeah. I mean, we've already seen Sarah Pochin say that she doesn't like seeing black faces on the television. So, and I heard someone earlier on say, what if you get a judge like Sarah Pochin? You can have decisions in your life, made by someone who's prejudiced, and it can mess up your whole life. So I just think for several different reasons, it's going to get really tricky.
Are there other countries that you feel would be safer places for you to be?
Good question. I don't see many countries right now, apart from the US and the UK. Well, no, actually, I was going to say, apart from the US and the UK, that are really going towards this direction of increased levels of racism. I think the US and the UK are in a really bad state compared to other countries right now.
All right. Alex, appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. 03456060973 is the number. Tom Swarbrick on LBC, still to come.
This is the biggest upgrade in workers' rights in a generation. It was a promise we made at the manifesto. It's a promise we're going to deliver on.
Not quite. Because in the last 40 minutes, it turns out the government has U-turned on its manifesto pledge of day one protections from unfair dismissal for workers. We'll bring you more details. 5:46, headlines. Tim Humphrey.
The government has U-turned on its plans to offer workers protection against unfair dismissal from their first day in a job. The Prime Minister has told LBC fairness was at the heart of yesterday's budget. President Putin says Russia is ready to start talks on a settlement of the conflict in Ukraine. LBC weather becoming clear in the south after midnight, but rain will continue in the north, an overnight low of 7 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and expect queues coming into town on the M1 where there's an accident approaching the North Circular at Staples Corner. It's blocking one lane next to the Central Reservation. It's very slow anti-clockwise on the M25. A car's broken down after 22 for London Coney. It's blocking one lane, and there are delays anti-clockwise of 40 minutes heading towards the Dartford tunnels. If you're coming into town on the A2, there's an accident approaching Dartford Heath. One lane's closed. A car's broken down northbound on the A3 just before the M25 at Wesleyan, causing delays. On the train, Southern remains suspended from Watford Junction to Shepherd's Bush. There are severe delays on the whole of the Mildmay line, and on the tube, the Piccadilly line can't run from Rayners Lane to Uxbridge.
Coming up at 6 on LBC, Tonight with Andrew Marr.
Big question about the budget. Would Labour really dare to raise taxes like this? Plus, Putin's words on Ukraine and peace are assessed by his former Prime Minister, and I am joined by Salman Rushdie.
Tonight with Andrew Marr from 6. Listen on our free Global Player app or our new LBC app.
How's the business going? We're busier than ever, but struggling to get the staff we need. Recruiting can be such a distraction. We gave Job Centre Plus a try, and they've really helped us out. Really? Yeah, it was dead easy. We got our own employer advisor, Julie, who helped advertise our jobs, shortlisted candidates for us, and let us interview at the Job Centre. We've hired some great people, and Job Centre Plus really took the hassle out of it, and there was no fee. Brilliant. That's straight on my to-do list.
Find out more at business.gov.uk/recruit. Eligibility criteria apply.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Things are really heating up in the country's smallest house. Dad! Squealed Mia Mouse. We could save around £100 by setting the boiler flow temperature to 60 degrees.
And turning radiators down in rooms we don't use.
Interrupted Mo. Yes, Mo. Turn them down, not off, said Mia.
Plus finding and blocking drafts,
said Mo. Should save enough to increase our allowance? A little saves a lot. You could save around £100 a year off your energy bills with 3 tips at gov.uk/clean energy.
With over 50 years' experience, at Fidelity, we believe there's a difference between investing and being invested. Investing is having access to guidance, tools and expert insights. Being invested means feeling confident about your future. Investing is choosing from a wealth of investment options. Being invested means focusing on your long-term goals. For ISAs, pensions or advice, be truly invested with Fidelity. Go to fidelity.co.uk. Your capital is at risk. Terms apply.
Black Friday is non-stop. Orders, calls, messages.
Sounds like you need the right sidekick to keep business booming, Claire.
Go on.
In EE's Black Friday sale, you can save £720 on a 36-month plan with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. Perfect for keeping your business running smoothly.
What a deal. Thanks, Kev.
Search EE Business today. BT and EE. Better for business.
Excludes 20% VAT. Ends 4th of December. Terms apply.
For people living with dementia, Christmas can be confusing, overwhelming, heartbreaking. Families are often left to cope alone. But you can help a family reimagine Christmas. Donate to Alzheimer's Society and you can help provide practical support, expert advice and crucial companionship this Christmas. It will take a society to beat dementia, and we can't do it without you. Search Alzheimer's Society and donate today.
The congestion charge helps to reduce traffic in central London. To ensure it remains effective while incentivising the switch to electric vehicles, from the 2nd of January, electric cars will be charged a 25% discounted rate of £13.50 rather than the new daily charge of £18. To receive the discount, electric cars must be registered on AutoPay. Further discounts are available for other electric vehicles. Search TfL AutoPay. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Going to talk to you about electric vehicles in just a few moments' time. There's more detail about how this pay-per-mile scheme is going to be introduced. You might be interested. Toby, I'll come to your call in a few moments as well. First,
every time that we have made progress on employment rights over the last 45 years, they have been resisted. It's always easier to do nothing.
The former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, there, speaking earlier this month. But now, this afternoon, we've learned that the government has U-turned on its pledge to introduce day one protections from unfair dismissal. Concerns being raised about the potential change in the Employment Rights Bill and the impact that it could have on small businesses. Alan Sodhi is a spokesperson from the Federation of Small Businesses. Thanks for coming on the programme, Alan. What impact would this have had, and what's your reaction to it being ditched?
Well, our members who are employers were really, really concerned about this. Many small businesses only have a handful of employees. They don't have a dedicated HR team. And there are already plenty of protections in place against discrimination and so on, even from day one for employees, and rightly so. The problem with this aspect of the Employment Rights Bill was it was going to add a lot more into that from the very first day of employment. And when we talked to our members about it, overwhelmingly they were telling us that they were concerned to the extent that they may not actually recruit people. It was going to deter them from giving people jobs. So it's all very well having additional workers' rights, but if people are not actually in work, they don't then benefit from that. This is just one aspect of the Employment Rights Bill. There are still lots of other parts of it. There's 28 different parts of this legislation, but this particular one was the one that we were the most concerned about. There are still a few other things, but that was the one that we were most concerned could actually lead to fewer jobs, and that's not in anyone's interest. So by moving this to 6 months rather than day one, it does seem like a sensible compromise.
I see the TUC, the Trades Union Congress, of course, big Labour backers. They say that the absolute priority is to get benefits like day one sick pay onto the statute book. So even they are sort of partially welcoming this, because I guess their members would have said, oh, well, hang on a minute, we might be in trouble here.
And I think it sounds from what you're saying there that there is that acceptance. And there have been a lot of talks going on behind the scenes. And at the Federation of Small Businesses, we've been talking extensively to the government, but also there have been some conversations with unions as well. And there is a reality that in terms of getting this through Parliament, that the whole lot could be delayed if this continues to be a sticking point. So it sounds like there has been some acceptance that this is a sensible move forward. It's still bringing in those rights from 6 months, but it also from an employer point of view. Sometimes when you give someone a job, ideally it works out brilliantly, but occasionally it doesn't, and so there has to be a way that there's not a vexatious claim then brought against them, particularly where the tribunal system is very clogged up. It can be hanging over people for 2 or 3 years before it actually gets to a tribunal, let alone the cost of that. So this is a very positive development. On sick pay as well, there's still conversations to be had about how that's affordable. So just making sure that there are ways that the government can support small employers to make that affordable. But for the time being, in terms of the day one unfair dismissal stuff, this is a good day as far as small employers are concerned.
Alan Sodhi is a spokesperson from the Federation of Small Businesses. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Toby is in Norwich. Hi, Toby.
Hello.
You are going to be a beneficiary of these changes, I think, aren't you, on two-child benefit cap?
That's correct, yes. So my partner and I had a baby 4 months ago, and we currently have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. We weren't expecting a third child, although, obviously we all know how it happens and blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
my partner had cancer 2 years ago. And was told that she was very unlikely to fall pregnant again.
Oh, wow. So this is amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, yes. But obviously, due to her having cancer, I had to have a career change from my fairly well-paid job and take a kind of average salary job.
Right.
And my partner obviously lost her income as they didn't offer, sick pay other than statutory sick pay, which was a huge challenge. So with that in mind, we signed up to Universal Credit, and it has genuinely helped us. And
well, that is what the safety net is there for. That is what the welfare state is there to catch people who have a tough time.
Yes, and I think it has done a lot. And whilst I until your caller earlier, I can't remember who it was, but they said, how much it was going to be. I haven't gone and looked up how much extra we're going to be and thought, cool, wow, what can we spend our extra money on? And, whatever. I just want to say with Universal Credit, when you've got people like me, I'm a workaholic, I've loved work and whatever else, Universal Credit doesn't just give you the set amount every single month and you can sit up with your feet up. I